In June 2009, Air France suffers the worst disaster in its history. Flight 447 crashes into the Atlantic, killing all 228 passengers and crew. Exactly what happened remains a mystery.
Why would a well-operated aircraft with a well-trained crew suddenly disappear?
Now, an independent team of investigators is on a quest to find answers.
We just can't accept unknown.
Any accident is a chain of events, and each of the links needs to be in place.
Combining known facts with new scientific analysis, the team attempts to reconstruct the doomed flight's final minutes.
Okay, we have a nav ADR1 fault. We have unreliable airspeed.
But their investigation raises more questions than answers.
The idea that a pilot would fly through a thunderstorm? Absolutely not.
The journey leads them to an unlikely suspect.
Hey, that is incredible.
Why did a modern state-of-the-art airliner drop out of the sky? Right now on Nova. May 31st, 2009. 228 passengers and crew on board Air France Flight 447 take off from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Destination, Paris. Three hours into an 11-hour flight, the pilots make routine radio contact with Brazil Air Traffic Control. Reporting their location over the Atlantic. But 8 hours later, Flight 447 fails to arrive in Paris. French officials declare a state of emergency.
We can only pray and hope. At the moment, we know nothing.
It takes another 5 days before the wreckage is found. Among the debris, the tail fin, and 1,000 smaller fragments. Only 50 bodies are recovered. The remains of the other 178 victims and the crucial black boxes are still missing. The disappearance of Flight 447 remains one of the greatest mysteries in modern aviation history. The official French investigation has released 2 reports detailing the known facts. But they draw few conclusions about what caused the disaster. Now, Nova has assembled an independent team of leading air accident investigators to find answers. The group includes experienced pilots.
I have a sense of sadness, I have a sense of mystery. I want to understand it.
Very unlikely that one single thing would bring down an aircraft.
A weather expert.
We really are limited to using mostly satellite data to understand what's going on.
And a structural engineer.
You're going to be forced to just look at whatever recovered pieces of the structure that you have.
Completing the team, air accident expert Tony Cable. A veteran of investigations into the deadly Concorde crash in 2000. And the 1988 terrorist bombing of Pan Am 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland. Cable begins by scouring Flight 447's air traffic control transcripts for clues to the aircraft's final moments.
The only thing to go on in this case, in the early stage, is to look at the last position report, which in this case is the last crew conversation with air traffic control.
The transcripts reveal nothing out of the ordinary. In the last radio message at 1:35 a.m., the pilots give their position and altitude.
Air France 447, by checking Intel 0133, level 350.
This puts Flight 447 350 miles off the coast of Brazil, exactly where it is supposed to be. A minute later, at 1:36, Brazil Air Traffic Control tries to reach them again to confirm when the aircraft is due to be handed over to Air Traffic Control in Senegal, Africa. There is no reply. But there's no cause for alarm.
There are periods when you just cannot communicate with the ground station you want to communicate with.
Atmospheric interference makes most high-frequency radio communications notoriously unreliable. Then, at 1:48, the flight disappears from Brazilian radar screens. But this is also not considered a problem. The Earth's curvature stops land radar tracking planes over a few hundred miles offshore. Once they're in the mid-Atlantic, every pilot knows they're on their own.
Crossing somewhere like the South Atlantic from Brazil across to Europe, you're flying well outside the range of land-based radar. You do just feel a little bit more on your own.
But in the case of Flight 447, air traffic controllers in Africa never pick up the flight. Over the next 6 hours, controllers from Senegal to Spain try unsuccessfully to locate the aircraft. Flight 447 is never seen or heard from again.
The only information that was available was the last radio contact with the pilots. That is pretty close to mid-Atlantic.
But Tony Cable notes another critical piece of evidence. The aircraft's flight computer, programmed to send automatic position reports by satellite, continues to transmit data. At the time, no one monitored the data, but now it reveals a vital clue. After the last radio contact at 1:35 a.m., Flight 447's computer sends automatic position reports at 1:40, 1:50, 2 o'clock, and finally 2:10.
The messages show a last automatic position report and then apparently the end of the flight.
These reports proved essential in helping investigators find the wreckage 5 days later. And now, the small amount of recovered debris is vital to understanding what happened.
It is possible, if you know the wreckage, to work out quite a lot about how it crashed, whether it broke up in the air.
The question on everyone's mind, was this an accident or a deliberate terrorist act? The official investigation by French authorities is ongoing, so the team can't look at the physical evidence itself, but they have access to extensive photographic records. This allows them to virtually reconstruct the recovered debris, seen here in orange. Reconstruction is one of the most important techniques in accident investigation.
Dealing with wreckage is literally a jigsaw puzzle, but you don't know how many pieces you have, and you usually don't have all of them. Are both wings attached to the airplane? Is the nose there? Is the tail there? The, quote, four corners. You have to take what wreckage you have and reassemble it. so that you can then begin to understand the forces that were actually on the airplane at impact in its last moments of flight.
Investigators used the same technique to uncover why TWA-800 crashed off New York in 1996, killing 230 people. Analysis revealed that the plane exploded in midair. Then pieces of debris drifted slowly down to the water with little further damage. Terrorism was initially suspected, but the cause was later identified as faulty wiring that triggered a fuel explosion. Structural engineer Jim Wildey was part of that investigation. Now he faces a jigsaw with most of the pieces missing.
In this case, there's only a limited amount of structure that's recovered. It fortunately does tell enough of a story to at least give a clue as to what's going on with the airplane.
2 of Flight 447's 4 corners have been recovered: the tail fin and nose cone. Wildey starts with the nose.
If this piece was to come off the airplane and float to the water by itself, it wouldn't be going fast enough so that when it hit the water, it would be damaged really in any way.
Flight 447's nose cone is severely deformed.
What we see here is that this piece has been flattened, it's been crushed, it's been torn, and so this is a very clear sign that this piece was on the airplane when the airplane hit the water.
The nose did not drift down slowly from the sky. The tail fin tells the same story. A mid-air breakup couldn't create the type of damage seen here. And a recovered floor section from the cargo compartment adds another piece of the puzzle.
And what we see here is curvature damage on both sides of this piece with a fracture down the middle. This damage is consistent with the airplane hitting relatively flat and with very high hydraulic pressure coming up from below and deforming this piece in the manner that's shown here.
Analysis of the wreckage is clear. When Flight 447 hit the water, it was level and in one piece.
Whatever the cause of the accident is, it better take into account the fact that this airplane is hitting the water relatively flat at a high rate of speed.
Wildey's conclusion: Flight 447 didn't explode in midair. It fell out of the sky. But why? The aircraft is an A330, built by aerospace giant Airbus. Though there are 700 in service, there hadn't been a single passenger fatality until Flight 447. This history of reliability rests on a highly computerized flight control system.
They're highly automated. They're some of the leading edge technology in aviation even today.
Powerful computer systems are designed to control everything from airspeed and altitude to turning the aircraft. The design philosophy that automation improves safety.